I-S. Okay, do it with me. Twice. I-S. Say it as you write it. Good whispering. So you're not bothering your neighbor.
Twice.
Yep. Now spell it for me.
T-W.
No. I-S. I'm not asking for the word names. I'm asking for the phonograms. What are my red markings?
Vowel sound changes because of the E.
Let's remind ourselves why we have a silent E, okay? The
The
vowel
vowel
sound
sound
changes
changes
because of the E. Does that apply here?
No.
It sure does. How about English words don't end in, I'm sorry, V or E or U? No. How about C says and G says J because of the E? Yes.
No.
So you could mark it with this one. The vowel sound changes because of the E. You could mark it with this one, number 3. I'm going to mark it with the first one because I typically go with the first that I know, which is the easiest. Ice. Underline your I, underline your E twice, and put an arc between them.
Hey, we're underlining the E
Twice. For your cursive, you have a lot of the same kind of words here, right? So your T, all the way to the top, all the way to baseline. Your W is an uphill to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, bump at baseline, and a ponytail. Your I is an uphill, but you're already halfway up the hill, so we're just going to go up to the midline, back to baseline. Your C is a clock letter, stop at 2 o'clock, come back around to baseline. And your E is a little loop letter, loop at midline, back to baseline. Pick up your pencil, dot your I, and cross your T twice. Just kidding, you don't have to cross it twice. See how I can throw you off. Twice.
I'm not done with that.
Whisper it as you write it, please.
So 12 months makes a year, and 12 years makes a month.
Nope.
Sorry.
Everyone whispered it as you said it?
Yep.
All right, spell it for me.
T.
Not word names. Give me the sound.
Ooh.
What the word name?
Why do we have a silent E? Did the vowel sound change because of the E? No, because we've got 2 consonants here. So that would be 12. That's not right. Is it because English words do not end in V or U?
Yep.
Yes. So underline the E 2 times and put another number 2 under it. Oh, I'm sorry. Also underline the V because the V is Y. 12. So T is an uphill letter all the way to the top, all the way to the baseline. W is an uphill letter up to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, and a ponytail. Your E is already up the hill there halfway, so just a little loop at midline, back to baseline. L is a loop letter, all the way to the top, all the way to baseline. Your V can be a bump letter like this, but I like to do mine a little more pointy because then it looks like a V, not a U. So I'm going to go straight up to, I'm uphill to midline, straight at baseline, back to midline, and a ponytail. That's probably not correct cursive. You probably should do a bump letter, but I like to have it more pointy. And then your E is a little loop. Come back to baseline, pick up your pencil, and cross your T.
Like this?
12. Very good. Yes. Don't forget to cross your T. Here is the number 12. So where do we need to put this word? Go ahead and turn to B15 and write 12 next to 12. Write the word 12 next to the number 12. Go to B15 and write the word 12 next to the number 12. Our next word is a version of 12. It's 12th. So if I have a line of people or things, I could count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? I could count them like that. Or I could use a position word. So instead of saying I'm number 1 in line, right? If you're going to get something off this tray here, you could say what? What's another way to say I'm number 1 in line? I am first. And it would look like this, right? So if the number 2 would be what? Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. Eighth. Ninth. 10th. 11th.
12.
And 12th. Or our word that we're about to write. We're going to write the word 12th. Now remember, sometimes V can change to F, right? So V is the voiced version of F. Okay, so put your hand on your throat and say, Now say, okay, so V is the voiced version of F. 12. 12th. So we're going to change it to the F. We're going to write it as we see it. Okay? Our change spelling matches our change in sound. Ready? 12th. That at the end is kind of funny. Okay, do it with me. 12th. Whisper as you write it. Okay, sound it out with the phonograms, please. That's the 12th.
No.
It looks funny, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a tweeny elf with a... It does look funny, but that is how you spell 12.
It feels like it's missing a vowel at the end of the word between the F and the TH.
Yeah, that's a lot of consonants in a row. 12. What red markings? Underline our. All right, for cursive, T is we're basically writing it the exact same way you wrote 12, but take off the E and V and add an FTH at the end.
What was that?
Okay, so here we go. Uphill for your T, back to baseline.
That must be Japan.
Your W, up to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, bump at baseline, and a ponytail. Your E is a little loop, back to baseline. Your L is a big loop up top, back to baseline. Your F is a loop up top, loop underneath, back to baseline. Your T is an uphill, back to baseline. And your H is a loop up top, straight down, bump with a tail. Pick up your pencil and cross your T. Cross your T. 12th.
That must be a Japan word or something.
That is an English word. Sure looks funny though, doesn't it? 12th.
Then show me it in the dictionary.
You know what? We have a student dictionary. You're welcome to look.
Yeah, listen to
If you look at your words now, so in the list, the next one they would do is to, and now I'm making sense why she had it go next, because you're sounding out twin, between, 20, twice, 12, 12th, and then when you get to two, you're not sounding it out. So I can see why she would do it afterwards, even though we did it first. So those words, twin, between, 20, twice, 12, 12th, and 2, what are we going to do to mark those? We're going to bracket them. Yeah, because they are very similar. Bracket the similar words. This has been a long one. This has been a tough one. But we only have 3 left. You ready? The next word is seam. In German, it's Siemen, which means suitable. That seems okay. That's suitable, right? So it's kind of derivative or derived from German. Siemen, which is suitable. Or maybe it's Siemen. I can't remember. True words is to be and not just seem like. True worth is to be and not just seem like. That's interesting. I just read something the other day. It was talking about how to make your children understand their worth. If you took a piece of metal, the hunk of metal is worth what? $2. But if you fashion it into a horseshoe, it's worth $100. If you make it into something else, it's worth more. It's worth more. It's helping people understand their worth. God's working on something, making you into something. So our word is seam. Ready? This is not the seam of my shirt. Not this part here where it's sewed. It's not my seam. It's a different spelling. Is seem. Like, you seem happy. You seem excited. You seem tired. Seem. S-E-M. Say it with me. Seem. S-E-M. Say it as you write it.
Seam.
Whisper, please, as you say your sounds. Sound it out for me. S-E-M. What are the red markings?
Underline
E-double-E. Always says E.
Really?
Remember our cursive S? I'm going to show it to you before I write it so you can get a reminder of it. See the cursive S here? There, so you can use it. Okay, so we're going to point at midline, scoop around, make the dress, and come back out. E is a little loop at midline, back to baseline, little loop at midline, back to baseline. Your M could be a bump letter, but I'm going to do mine as an uphill. Straight to baseline, bump at midline, straight to baseline, bump at midline, and a tail. That seemed fast. If I were to add ED, seemed, is that the first sound of our past? Seemed? Nope. Seemed? Yes. Okay, so if I added seemed, I would put a 2.
Are we adding it?
We're not adding it. I'm just giving you an example. You can add it to your page if you want to. 2 left. Maybe. Maybe means perhaps, possibly, maybe. And remember, we've got, ooh, tricky. A that you may use, or you may not use at the end of English words. A that you may use, but you can also use it at the end of a syllable too. So let's be reminded of this rule here. A, E, O, and U usually say A, E, O, and U at the end of a syllable, but if not, it says ma. Okay, so when you're writing maybe, it's not ma, be, right? We've got to add something to get it to say it's A. May be. Ready? May be. First syllable, may, A. See my fingers? Second syllable, be, e. And remember, A, E, and O, you can say E at the end of a syllable. Okay? Do it with me. May be. First syllable, may, A. Second syllable, be, e. We got may, be. All right. Whisper as you write it.
Maybe.
Sound it out for me. A. E. Not e. What are our red markings?
Underline the.
Underline the A that you may use at the end of English words, and underline the E. A-E. Can say E at the end of a syllable. Your M, remember, could be a bump letter, but I'm doing it uphill. So uphill to midline, straight down, bump at midline, back to baseline, bump at midline, and a tail. Your A is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect, and straight to baseline. Y is an uphill, back to baseline, bump, back to midline, and under the line for a loop. Your B is a loop to the top, back to baseline, come back to midline, and a ponytail. Please stop whispering over there. And E is a little loop, back to baseline, maybe. And last word, without. 'Tis hard to behold our own gifts without pride, and the gifts of others without envy. Ooh, that is a good thought for today. Without. Now, remember our phonogram that says can also say without. Okay, so some people we don't. So we say with, which is the first sound. Okay, without. First syllable with. Second syllable out. Out. Okay, using your ow. Okay, stay with me. Ready? Without. First syllable with. Second syllable out. Out. Say it as you write it. Spell it for me. Out. Good. What are my markings? Underline our and underline our out. If you say without, you would put a 2, but we don't. We say without. How would I abbreviate this?
You wouldn't.
You can abbreviate without. You would go W/O, without. All right, let's do our cursive. Our W is an uphill letter. Uphill to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, bump at baseline, and a ponytail. I is an uphill, but we're already halfway there. So up to midline, back to baseline. T is an uphill, all the way to the top, back to baseline. H is a loop. So loop to the top, straight down, bump at midline, back to baseline. Our O is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect, and a ponytail. U is an uphill letter, but we're already halfway up there, so we're going to bump that baseline, back to midline, back to baseline, and a tail. And our T is a tall uphill, all the way to the top, back to baseline. Pick up your pencil, cross your T, and dot your I. Without. That was a long lesson. Good job.